Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bhakti Fundamentals. Today, we're exploring a question we may not often think about, but one that's surprisingly important. How can I spiritualize my food? And this is a great question because we all eat every single day. And Bhakti Yoga is all about purifying our everyday life and activities. We learn in Bhakti that eating is not just about bodily nutrition. It turns out, just like with our work, food can either bind us more deeply to material consciousness and this material world, or it can elevate us toward the Supreme, or Kṛṣṇa. It all depends on how and what we eat. If we think about it, what is food meant for? Speaking on the material level, and looking beyond just taste, food is meant to nourish our bodies, to give our bodies the physical energy and mental clarity we need to successfully carry out our daily responsibilities. And it helps if that food is also tasty and satisfying, right? However, in Bhakti Yoga, it goes even deeper. Food is not just fuel for our body, it's also a means of making spiritual advancement. The kind of food we eat and the consciousness in which we prepare it help determine whether our food nourishes us spiritually in addition to materially. We might wonder, how can food affect us on a spiritual level? But if we think about it, food already clearly affects our body and mind. Too much spice can bring restlessness and indigestion. Other foods may leave our bodies and minds feeling heavy, dull, drained, and exhausted. What we eat affects how our bodies feel, how our minds think, and even how we choose to act sometimes. So why wouldn't it also influence us on the level of the soul? So yes, food matters, not just physically, but spiritually too. It can positively affect our body and mind, and also elevate our consciousness spiritually, if we allow it. Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme, speaks very practically about the effect of food on our body, mind, and consciousness in the Bhagavad-gītā. He understands our everyday needs in this world and guides us toward choices that support our spiritual progress, including our food choices. And it turns out that the foods he recommends, vegetarian ones, are both delicious and, importantly, as free from this cycle of violence to other living entities as possible. We'll address the latter point in a moment, but first, in chapter 17 of the Gita, Kṛṣṇa explains that food is influenced by the three modes of material nature: goodness, sattva, passion, rajas, and ignorance, tamas. As we've discussed in earlier sessions, these three modes shape everything material in this world, and food is no exception. And what does Kṛṣṇa tell us? That food is meant to purify our existence, to give our bodies and minds strength, happiness, vitality, clarity, and support, ultimately for a spiritual life. Kṛṣṇa says in chapter 17, verse 8, "Foods dear to those in the mode of goodness increase the duration of life, purify one's existence, and give strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. Such foods are juicy, fatty, wholesome, and pleasing to the heart." Kṛṣṇa truly cares for us on all levels, and the foods he recommends reflect that care. They're nourishing for both body and mind, supporting our overall health, happiness, and well-being. But beyond that, food should also purify our existence, as Kṛṣṇa himself states in the verse. And so, Kṛṣṇa goes a step further in the Gita. He not only tells us what to eat, but also how to transform our food into something spiritual. Kṛṣṇa teaches us how to spiritualize our meals or snacks, really anything we eat, by offering them to him first, before we eat them ourselves. If we skip this step, our food remains material and simply generates material karmic reactions for us. Kṛṣṇa explains this in the Gita, chapter 3, verse 13, wherein he states, "The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins, karma, because they eat food that is first offered in sacrifice, offered to Kṛṣṇa prior to consuming. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin or karma." What does this mean? It means that food offered to Kṛṣṇa in a spirit of devotion becomes spiritual in nature. It is then karma-free and helps to purify our consciousness, elevating it from the material to the spiritual platform. By contrast, food that is prepared and eaten only for our personal gratification generates karma, because it is eaten without recognizing that everything comes from the Supreme and should be offered back to him. Kṛṣṇa is the ultimate provider of all that we have, and when we offer our food back to him first, we acknowledge his mercy and reciprocate with gratitude and devotion. Importantly, the process of offering food that we practice in Bhakti Yoga is not quite the same as just saying a quick prayer before eating. In Bhakti Yoga, we prepare our meals with Kṛṣṇa in mind from the beginning, cooking with the intention of serving it to him. Then, before tasting the food ourselves, we lovingly offer it to him with a simple prayer. And these simple actions, cooking with devotion and offering our meal with love to the Supreme, transform our meal from ordinary nourishment into prasādam, sanctified food that nourishes us on every level, including on the spiritual level. Prasādam is a word meaning mercy, and it signifies that our meal is no longer just food. It is karma-free, and it is actually Kṛṣṇa's mercy, infused with spiritual potency that nourishes us on every level, both materially and spiritually. And when we eat prasādam, or more accurately, honor prasādam, we're not just feeding our body, we're making spiritual advancement with every bite. On that note, it's essential to understand that we cannot offer just any food to Kṛṣṇa. We may try, but Kṛṣṇa does not accept foods that are connected to unnecessary violence, whether directed toward ourselves or other living beings. That's why in Bhakti Yoga, we refrain from consuming meat, fish, even eggs, as well as alcohol and other intoxicants. These items are not pleasing to Kṛṣṇa and are rooted in unnecessary violence to ourselves and others. They are rooted in the mode of ignorance. In chapter 17, verse 10, Kṛṣṇa explains in the Gita that food that is tasteless, decomposed, and putrid is dear to those in the mode of ignorance. Such food degrades our consciousness and is unfit for offering to the Lord. In Bhakti Yoga, we aspire to offer the very best to the Supreme, food that is healthy, nourishing, delicious, and as removed from the cycle of violence as possible. We offer Kṛṣṇa what he himself says he prefers: fruits, vegetables, grains, dairy, etc. We'll discuss this more in a moment. However, this is an important point about Bhakti Yoga. Rather than simply considering what we like, we also take into account what Kṛṣṇa likes. Just as we naturally consider the preferences of a loved one when cooking for them, in Bhakti Yoga, we do the same for Kṛṣṇa. We prepare meals for him with love and devotion, using the vegetarian ingredients that Kṛṣṇa himself prefers. In this way, we're not just offering food, we're offering him our hearts. As a side note, whenever possible, Bhakti yogis also strive to source dairy from protected no-kill farms, where cows are lovingly cared for and never harmed. These farms are run by Bhakti practitioners around the world, and we hope to see many more of them established in the future. Now, on the point of what foods Kṛṣṇa accepts, in chapter 9 of the Gita, Kṛṣṇa says, "If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, I will accept it." This verse is simple yet profound. In his purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that Kṛṣṇa outlines here the kinds of food he accepts, vegetarian offerings made with love and devotion. When we offer our food to Kṛṣṇa with love, he accepts it, and what remains are his remnants, prasādam, which we honor with appreciation. This vegetarian principle is echoed throughout the scriptures, including in many places in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Kṛṣṇa in the Srimad Bhagavatam also discusses what kinds of foods he accepts and prefers. And then in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's explained that those who slaughter innocent animals, especially while thinking they're still virtuous, accrue serious negative karmic reactions. The unnecessary violence they cause to other living entities comes back to them in their future lifetimes in the material world. And Srila Prabhupada explains in the 9th canto of the Bhagavatam that anyone involved in the process of meat consumption, not just those who carry out the actual killing, but also those who permit, prepare, sell, or eat the meat, share in the karmic responsibility. Violent actions bring violent reactions. Karma is not just about punishment. It's a fair system meant to teach us lessons. It's the law of cause and effect. Negative actions yield negative results. The hope is that through our life experiences, we learn, grow, and begin to make better choices that support our progress on the spiritual path back to Kṛṣṇa. In Bhakti Yoga, we try to follow the scriptural directives against meat eating by extending compassion toward other living entities as far as possible. Why? Because it's what Kṛṣṇa wants. And because, as we might imagine, it's difficult to make genuine spiritual progress while participating in or supporting unnecessary violence toward others. In the Bhagavad-gītā, we learn that every living being is actually a soul, the Atma or Jiva, an eternal spiritual spark, just like us, simply residing in a different type of body. Regardless of the outer material covering or body, all living beings are part and parcel of Kṛṣṇa, as we learn in chapter 15 of the Gita, and therefore unnecessary violence toward them is not supported by Kṛṣṇa. When we eat meat, we're not just eating food, we're eating karma. Through that action, we become further entangled in this cycle of birth and death, destined to return to this material world again and again to face the reactions. However, when we honor prasādam, vegetarian food first offered to Kṛṣṇa with love and devotion, we're not just eating food either. We're making spiritual advancement with every bite. What a difference. And the beautiful thing is that a Kṛṣṇa-approved diet is not just spiritually elevating, it's incredibly practical for our material health, well-being, and happiness also. Over and over again, we see that when we follow Kṛṣṇa's guidance, we thrive, body, mind, and soul. In Bhakti Yoga, our meals are not just healthy and wholesome, they're bursting with flavor. Spiritual meals do not mean bland meals. Remember what Kṛṣṇa said in chapter 17 of the Gita. Foods in the mode of goodness increase health, happiness, and satisfaction. In Bhakti Yoga, we have many ways of preparing vegetarian food items in delicious combinations. So if you're not vegetarian, try it on out. And you don't have to do it alone. We have so many delicious recipes, cookbook recommendations, and even provide live cooking classes to support those trying out vegetarianism. Just reach out to us at bhaktifundamentals@gmail.com and we'll help you. You'll find nothing is missing in this vegetarian lifestyle, and you'll feel more peaceful when you step out of this cycle of unnecessary violence. So next time you go about preparing a vegetarian meal, snack, etc., even something as simple as fruit salad, first think of Kṛṣṇa. Remember that every ingredient came from him. Prepare the meal as an offering of love, just as you would cook for someone you care about. This is one way in which we practice reawakening our dormant love for the Supreme. Then, before consuming the food yourself, pause and pray, "Kṛṣṇa, I offer this meal to you, hoping you'll accept it along with the love and devotion I tried to put into it." Let the offering sit for a few quiet moments while you tidy up. Then honor the prasādam, the remnants of Kṛṣṇa, his mercy. Try it, taste it, feel the difference, and let us know how it goes. We're here for you. So that's all we have for today on the topic of spiritualizing our food. Let us know if you have any questions that we might answer in a follow-up session. In the meantime, thank you for listening today, and we'll see you next time on Bhakti Fundamentals.